Hello, everyone. This is Animezingly Baka, the amazingly stupid podcast all about anime and movies and TV shows and movies and well, I'm already out of my mind and movies and TV shows and movies and books and TV shows and movies and blah blah blah. And it is the amazingly stupid podcast. Yes, for sure. That is 100% what it is. But it's all about anime and movies and TV shows and books and manga and comics, and the order is always all messed up. Music is thrown in there too. How often do I talk about some of that stuff? Not often. It's been a week. It's been a weekend. I was out. I was without power for quite a bit, and that was very frustrating. It was a bit of surprise maintenance. No heads up at all. And it seemed like it was something that they knew about. I don't know. They seemed pretty prepared because it wasn't like there was an outage and they had to come and fix it. It was a bunch of trucks blocked my driveway. And then an hour or two later, the power was out. And I checked the power outage app, my ComEd, whatnot. And it said, we expect power to be back in like 5 hours. I'm like, oh, that's a while. And I was just in the middle of watching the last episode of Balloon Generic Romance, and that was very frustrating. But completely ignoring all of that, one thing I realized when sleeping now with longer hair is that when I lay down, and especially if I move my head to the left or right, I can feel my hair up against my face. And when doing that, I thought to myself, what the fuck is that? Oh, that's my hair. Why the fuck is my hair in my face? Oh, that's right. It's because I'm growing it out. Why the fuck am I growing my hair out? You know what? I'm not sure. Maybe it's some kind of midlife crisis thing. Why the fuck are you having a midlife crisis? Well, I'm just about 40. That's kind of the usual time someone has a midlife crisis. Why the fuck are you having a midlife crisis at 40? You really think you're going to live to 80? Get out of here. You know what? I don't really have a response to that because you're pretty right. If I was going to have a midlife crisis at any point in my life, it should have been around 25 because if I hit 50, that's a good sign. A good sign of what? I don't know. I know 50 is not that old, but I've always felt like I'm not destined to live long for no particular reason, other than I don't get regular health checkups or anything. But it's not like I'm a smoker, a drinker, a thiser or thater. I'm just someone who thinks, why wouldn't I go early? I don't know. I just assume that some health thing is going to happen with me. But yeah, having longer hair, that's a new thing I've realized is that I can feel it. And it's a thing. But this is very much so going to be the I'm excited for summer 2025 anime. And we're just about there. I don't know if anything started yet, but I believe one of the early shows coming back is Dan Da Dan. That is 2 days away. Well, maybe just a day away from this episode's release. I think it might be coming out on Tuesday. Let me double check that right now. I'm going to go through the list and talk about all the stuff. Start date July 3rd. So that is Thursday? Why do you say 2 days, 13 hours? Maybe it's very early on Thursday when it's technically airing stateside, that is. But this is going to be the I'm excited for that season episode because just have a few more wrap ups and me catching up with anime after my break from treadmilling. So I'm going to start with, I guess non-anime things. I finally watched Malcolm X because it recently got a Criterion release and is getting a fancy, I believe, imprint release from Australia. I think there's a really good 2-hour movie in the 3 hour and 20-minute excess that is that actual movie. The movie for me didn't pick up until they got to prison, and that's about an hour in. I think they could have gotten there in half that time, maybe even a little less. And then even once the movie comes to life at that point, there are still instances where it's dragging, and it's unfortunate because I think there's a lot of good stuff there, but there's just too much that doesn't need to be there. I also rewatched Escape from LA, and I'm not the biggest fan of Escape from New York. I think it's a solid movie. But what I will say, and I think this is the distinguishing factor between the two, even though I don't think Escape from New York is the best movie, it's cool. It is a cool movie. Escape from LA thinks it's cool, but it's not cool. It's incredibly lame. It's enjoyably lame, but it's not cool. It thinks it's cool, whereas Escape from New York is cool. And then 'cause it's been so weird finishing my playlist and now looking at what to watch and being at a loss as heck not it wasn't hectic, but as kind of crushing as the playlist was at times, it at least gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me something to do. And now with this vast array of things and me looking at stuff and thinking, well, do I just watch a random Bond movie here? Or does that mean if I watch one Bond movie, does that mean I have to watch all of them now? Am I committing to that? If I watch a Lethal Weapon, do I have to watch all of them right now? And I kind of broke that this time with Free Guy. And you might be saying, well, Free Guy's not part of a franchise, but it is part of the overall overarching video game centric movie that I lump everything together in, whether it is about video games like a Free Guy or Scott Pilgrim kind of to a sense, but Wreck-It Ralph, The Wizard, etc. Those movies that revolve around the culture or maybe have fictional video games in them, but aren't based on a video game. Whereas then you have Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tomb Raiders, etc., Minecraft, Mario, blah 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 blah, that are all based on actual video games. I lump those two types of movies together. But I've been wanting to rewatch Free Guy for a while, and I did, and it's just it makes me embarrassed to be a gamer. I thought we were past that point. That was basically what I wrote for my Letterboxd review. I thought we were past the point where I could be embarrassed to be a gamer, but the way characters talk in it and so much of the humor, I think we can all agree that the Captain America shield lightsaber shit at the very end is really really bad. But even before then, just kind of the gamer speak that it does, I don't love, and some of the referential. It's okay. I gave it 1.5 stars out of 5, and maybe I should give it 2. I'm not sure. I'm going back and forth on what I should actually score it because I didn't hate watching it as much as some other stuff. Because I also recently watched finally Captain America: Brave New World, and that was just very very boring. And every single attempt at humor in that specifically fell flat because a lot of it comes through his sidekick, who I guess is the new Falcon, but that character sucks. And in watching that movie, thinking about that character's age and the fact that he mentions at one point to try and, I don't know, make up for the fact that the new Captain America, whatever his character's name is, I forget, but he still doesn't feel worthy of the shield. And I'm just like, At this point, fucking either if you don't feel worthy still, you're not worthy. You should to me, he shouldn't be Captain America. Just get rid of him because I don't think he can carry. I don't think he can hold the match. I don't think at this point he's proven himself to be worthy of the shield. At, he both doesn't seem to feel it. It's a failure. But his sidekick is younger and says, "Oh, when I wanted to be just like you." I'm like, really? How young are you supposed to be in this? And to that point, do people around your age, do younger people think you're funny? Do they watch this movie and think, "Oh, everything he's doing, it's funny. Look at him. He's on the phone playing that old game." He's like, "Look at this. I remember playing this old ass game when I was a kid." Or like, it was just so boring. And I'm sad that William Hurt passed away because I would have liked to have seen what he did in the role, not just because we knew him so long as Ross, but just he brings a different energy that, and maybe it's just because of Harrison Ford at this point in his career, I don't feel the same drive. He just feels like he's there, and I'm not getting a whole lot out of him. But back to Free Guy, it's just, it can be really, really bad and eye rolly. And I also thought to myself, you know what? If this was actually accurate, there would be so many more Ryan Reynolds all over that world. Are you really trying to tell me that this is a fully, this is a open world online thing? I guess Ready Player One treated it the same way because you don't want to do that. But you're telling me that every single NPC is an individual model, and there are probably thousands, if not tens of thousands, maybe millions? Get the fuck out of here. You are going to repeat. You're going to reuse assets for sure. So you're going to see his stupid face all over the place. But yeah, that's kind of it. New stuff wise, I also checked out House of the Devil, I think it's called, and 'cause I'm open to exploring or to going outside of my comfort zone for things. So I'm open to all kinds of recommendations at this point, as long as it's accessible in some kind of easy way. Is it on Netflix, Hulu, wherever? And I'm not going to spoil the House of the Devil, but as I put in my review, nothing happens. Then someone gets surprise shot in the head. And at that point, I thought to myself, ooh, things are going to start getting interesting. And I was at that point still open to liking the movie. It took a while to get to that point, and I was pretty bored up until that point because there's no sense of buildup or tension or anything. And then that happens, and I'm like, oh, where are we going now? And then nothing happens again until the last 15 or so minutes where some fucking shit happens. But at that point, I was so checked out, and I didn't think it was all that scary. My friend told me it's very much a style over substance movie, and that is very much the case. But the style that was there, I don't think it was good style, because I can jive with some style over substance. As I told him, Michael Mann is very much so in many ways, in many of his movies, a style over substance director. Miami Vice, all style over substance. The substance of that is shit, but I love the style of it. And back to House of the Devil, though. I watched it, and when I finished it, I thought, why? Why do you like this? Why do you like just watch Hereditary instead? Hereditary is way better in every way. And I guess maybe it's the fact that it is style over substance, and there's more room for you to fill in the blanks with your own stuff. He's also way more into the kind of possession thing that I'm not overly fond of just in general. For instance, like I don't like, or the satanic. satanic and that kind of crap, like Rosemary's Baby. I don't like any of those kind of things. I'm not typically into. Takes a very good one for me to jive with. But to anime. So I finish Kowloon Generic Romance, and I'm very torn on it still. I think as it went on, it did a much better job with its characters and fleshing them out and making me care about all of them. But when it finally ended, and I'm assuming the way it ends, we're not going to get another season because it feels like it's pretty contained. I feel like it needed a 24 episode season to really pace everything better. Because and maybe it's just that there was never any intention to explain things because it is a mystery show. The generic romance, the romance side of it is very kind of misleading to call it that because you have that a little bit up front and then maybe you could say you have it sporadically throughout it. But the mystery of what's going on in this town, why it's visible to some and so on, is the actual core heart of the show. And what pissed me off in the end is that while I was getting more and more invested in the mystery and wonder what was going on, and as we learn more that it is Kudo's doing, that it is he who is creating this place, and it's all based on his memories, I was so bummed when it ended and we got no explanation as to how it worked, why. Why there's having a mystery without that is quote unquote solved in the end, in that it's gone now. We had the mystery and now we have this version of the town that is still there for some, and now it's no longer there, so the mystery's over. But we get no explanation as to why it was there, why it was specifically Kudo who was the one who was manifesting this, how we got this ability, like the thing in the sky, like what the fuck was actually going on? And I'm sure some will probably say that it's all explained there. Tell me then, because I did not get it from watching it. I just sat there and when it all wrapped up, I thought to myself, well, that left me feeling very empty and there's so much potential in the show. I love the look of it. I grew to love so many of the characters. I think it was episode 11 that really focused on, was it Xiaohei? I loved getting that episode on that character. Also, fucking wild what 3 years did for that character. He grew like 2.5 times. It's like, I'm dumb. You can see, also that character, both versions, little girl version of him and adult version of him. Because I'm not sure if the source material explores, is he, what kind of trans person he is, if he associates with that, if it's just transvestite, transgender, trans whatever. Because we never really got any sense of, I don't think, his leanings sexually speaking. But obviously he liked dressing as a girl when he was a young boy, and he kind of went away from that as an adult. But maybe just because of society norms scaring him off from that as more of an adult. But he has his, in his little vest, the little like dress stuff in there. But he is the cutest character in the show. He's adorable. Both versions of him. He's just so adorable. The way he's drawn and everything. I liked him, but I grew to like all these characters, and especially after kind of a rough first few episodes. The first episode very strong, and then when they introduced the real version of Gwen, I thought to myself, "This fuck this dude." But then as they developed them more, even the lizard tongue, the snake tongue guy, I grew to not per se like him, but understand and not think of him as this very flat, hollow character. Again, they did a lot of good with the actual characters, but I think from a story standpoint, they left me with more questions than answers. And assuming we're not getting any more, and also if we get more, it's not going to have anything to do with the whole mystery. It's just going to be, it would just be them living their lives in a normal ass rom-com type of show then, presumably. But yeah, it's just such a frustrating show because, again, I love the look of it. Ended up loving the characters. And I enjoyed the mystery. It's just the way the mystery was handled and the lack of any kind of real resolution, satisfying resolution for me at least. So I ended up sticking with my 6 out of 10. Teased, and who knows, I may still drop it to a 5 because of the fact that the mystery aspect does frustrate me so much. It's a show I look at and I think with some tweaks, it could be a 9 out of 10, a 10 out of this could be such a great show. And for me, it ended up being a crushingly disappointing one. I need to check and see if it's on the manga is on either, well, it wouldn't be on the Shonen Jump app, but in the Viz Media, all the other stuff. Because I'm very curious. I really want to. Maybe this could be the first manga I read in years. Because I would imagine it's not super long, so maybe that'll be the next goal in mind. But what a frustrating show in the end it ended up being. What had a really, really, really good episode this week was the Apothecary Diaries. So we have one more episode before the season ends, and this last one, it was Lulin's episode. I think that's her name. So good. Her explaining everything, like a lot of talking, but it was so engaging because of her, the manner of her explaining the situation and all of these puzzle pieces coming together. I was engaged with everything she said, and the way it ended with her dancing and the cutting of that shot. Clearly, she's not dead because it never specifically said she's dead. Jinshi at the end says, and that is the last time I ever saw her. And that is very deliberate wording, unless it's, I think I even saw though that in the manga, it does not openly kill her either. Cause I mean, it could be you always have to take some grain of salt with localization, translation, that maybe something will be lost there. But in this case, she's clearly not dead, whether or not we actually see her ever again. Because again, Jinshi never sees her again, but we could see her and it not be related to what's going on. But such a strong episode and a great send off for that character who was a bit of a roller coaster ride, a good roller coaster ride. As we learn more about who she actually was through this last kind of arc. But man, do I love the Apothecary Diaries. This episode alone may have bumped up my score a single point. I don't know. I don't want to just ride off the high of this episode, and I'm very curious to see how this season is going to wrap up. But man, what a great episode! What a great, beautiful, one of the best episodes of the year so far. That episode, and then that one from Windbreaker this season. Some strong contenders for best episode of the year so far. The Windbreaker one would probably still have it for me so far. But yeah, that's kind of it for current stuff. I'm in the middle of watching the most recent episode of My Hero Academia, Vigilantes, and so on. But looking at summer 2025 season. So we have Dandadan coming out very soon. So excited for that. And I just realized now that the Demon Slayer this upcoming season is not a new season, because I thought having that along with all this other stuff would be wild. It is just the movie compilation of the Infinity Castle arc, which will be nice to have, but it's not the same as a continuation of the story, a new season, and so on. But we have the Chainsaw Man movie, which I know has been a long time coming. I think this was supposed to come out a year ago. So it's been a while that people have been waiting. I need to rewatch the first season because I enjoyed it, but it didn't click with me with the way it clicked with some people. So I want to give it another shot. And I liked it enough that I'm open to doing that. But this, after maybe more than Dawn to Dawn, I think my actual most hyped, anticipated show of the season is my Dress Up Darling season 2. And that is, I'm going to rewatch the first season, and I'm going to do that soonish. Because it was one of my biggest surprises. I've said this every time I bring up the show. I was so pleasantly surprised with my Dress Up Darling. Because I thought it was just going to be this stupid fan servicey type of show, but it was a show about these two characters and their passions and them coming together. And it's just, I can't recommend highly enough. There is a degree of fan service to it because she is a cosplayer. So she is dressing up in these outfits. But I mean, if you go to any event and you see cosplayers, they're going to be dressed the way they're dressed, doing their characters. It's no thing. My friend shared a short little article about someone who, like myself, is asexual, commenting on the struggles of being an anime fan and a lot of the sexualized humor and stuff like that, but also mentioning that asexuality is this spectrum that differs from person to person, because there are also people who are, I believe the term is aromantic, who don't even have or feel that kind of romantic connection, whereas I very much so feel a romantic connection, or I have that in me, but it is the actual physical act of sex and even kissing and all that kind of stuff that I've done, but I can't say I've ever gotten anything out of it. I also had a traumatic experience with some of that, but not for a lot of it. And it's just, I don't feel that drive to do that. When I see it being done in a movie or whatever, I'm just like, okay, I'm very indifferent to it. But like mentioned in the article, I this is my issue with Fire Force or any kind of thing. I don't like it when that kind of content is thrown into a series that otherwise is completely devoid. If you're gonna have sex in your show, just make it make sense. Or if it's a show that is about fan service, that is just over the top, over sexualization, if that's what the show is about, I can enjoy it still. It is when you over sexualize characters in an otherwise normal show for no fucking, just to have it there because you feel some sense that is needed in an anime. That becomes frustrating. But something like Food Wars, I love Food Wars, and I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. But yeah, My Dress Up Darling, so excited for that. Then you have Kaiju number 8, season 2. So we're sitting at I'm not gonna count the movies as things I'm gonna watch, but Kaiju number 8. I love the first season. Excited for more of it. I don't know what this fragment flower blooms with dignity is about, but Kiart looks like potential. Chidori High is a boys' school that takes in the dregs of society with the lowest grades. Next door stands Kikyo Girls High, where the wealthy, high class families send their precious daughters. Why would you do that? Why would you put these two schools together? It's already stupid. But I mean, you basically, I don't even need to read anymore because you would basically get an idea of what the fuck the show's about from that. But that could be all right. Then you have Gacha Kuta. I don't know what that is. Wild key art. A boy lives in a floating town where the poor scrape by and the rich live in sumptuous life, simply casting their garbage off to the side into the abyss. When he's falsely accused of murder, though, his wrongful conviction leads to an unimaginable punishment, exile off the edge with the rest of the trash. Down on the surface, the cast off waste of humanity has bred vicious monsters and had traveled the path to vengeance against those who cast him into hell. A boy will have to become a warrior. I mean, if it's that looks like a show that sounds like a show that needs strong animation to pull it through. We have Call of the Night season 2, which I know people are really excited about. That's another show where I feel the need to rewatch the first season. Sakamoto Days is coming back, and that is. I'm curious because I enjoyed the show, but it didn't reach the heights I expected based on kind of the build up to its first season. Rising the Shield Hero 4, whatever. Man, I enjoyed what a fucking drop from the first season. There's also Summer Hikaru Died. Could be a good thing in the Mononoke type of vibe-ish thing. Two best friends live in a rural Japanese village. Yoshiki and Hikaru growing up together, they were inseparable until the day Hikaru came back from the mountains and was no longer himself. Something has taken over his body, memories, feelings. Yeah. I like these kind of like more yokai spiritual things. That could be good. But then you have the return of Rascal Does Not Dream of blah 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 blah. I need to. I've been wanting to rewatch the first season, but then there are a few movies I believe to check out. Doctor Stone coming back, very nice. New Penny and Stocking. It's just every time I remember that Rent a Girlfriend still is going on. It's just what an enjoyable trash that fucking that thing fell off for me after the first season too. I was like, ooh, this is spicy trash. I'm kind of enjoying it. Wait, is this the fucking toilet thing is coming back? Jibaku Shonen Hanako Kun 2 Part 2? What is this? Yeah, toilet. It is the toilet anime. I did not even finish the first season. But there's plenty more to go. It's just for me, Dandadan, My Dress Up Darling, and Kaiju number 8 alone make this a potential all-timer season in the fact that My Dress Up Darling, if it's as good as the first scene, going to be another 10. There's not often I get a 10. Dandadan, I mean, if it hits on all cylinders and it doesn't have a bullshit cliffhanger ending, could be a 10. Kaiju number 8, probably more in that 9 range, but who knows? Could surprise me, be a 10. If I had 3 10s in a single season, that's pretty fucking impressive. And then some new things could surprise me. And so, like, it's just, there are going to be some very, very high highs for this season, for sure. Unless if My Dress Up Darling disappoints me, I'm going to be heartbroken. And you're going to see me in 3 months being completely sad. But right now, I'm just so happy about what we can expect from this season. But yeah, I would love to know what y'all are excited for in this upcoming summer anime season. And yeah, that's it. And that's going to do it for this episode of Attack the backlog. No, that's not what this is. I just recorded 2 of those, so I'm all discombobulated. That is gonna do it for this episode of Animezingly Baka. You know, I'm stupid. What do you expect? The amazingly stupid podcast where I talk about things that annoy the shit out of people. Anywho, once again, I'm Marcus Shnez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, a private Discord channel, along with some fancy Discord roles, and the random drop on the Patreon here or there, depending on your tier. Or you can just support me to support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. That is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye.